On March 31, 2026, up to 30,000 Oracle employees woke up to a termination email at 6 in the morning. No warning. No HR meeting. No call from their manager. A 6-sentence message from a sender listed as Oracle leadership, no name, no executive signature, telling them their access was cut, their role was eliminated, and that today was their last day. Workers in Kansas City, Bangalore, Toronto, Mexico City, all receiving the same cold early morning message at the same time. Here is the number that makes this the most important story in the American economy right now. Oracle's net income last quarter jumped 95% to $6.13 billion. The company was not in trouble. It was posting near-record profits. And Wall Street's reaction to 30,000 people losing their jobs via automated email. Oracle's stock went up 4% to 6%. Let me show you why that one data point tells you everything about where this economy is actually heading. Because what happened at Oracle is not an isolated decision by one company. It is the template. And 2 researchers from UPenn and Boston University just published a paper called the AI Layoff Trap. And what they proved mathematically is something Wall Street absolutely does not want discussed out loud. Every single company replacing workers with AI is also, at the same time, firing its own customers. Not eventually. Right now. And the endpoint the math describes is not a recession. It is not a correction. It is a depression. And the researchers tested every solution economists and policymakers have proposed. Every one. And proved why none of them fix the underlying structure. I am going to walk you through exactly what the paper found. The mechanism. The trap. Why every policy proposal fails. And what the data tells us about where we are heading by 2027. Stay with me because the numbers are not subtle. The acceleration is visible in the data right now. And the math says this does not self-correct on its own. Let us start with what is actually in the data right now. Because we are not talking about future risk models. We are talking about what has already happened in the past 90 days. In Q1 2026, January through March, 78,557 tech workers were laid off globally. 76% of those positions were in the United States. And 47.9% of the cuts were attributed directly to AI and workflow automation. That is the fastest single-quarter pace of AI-driven displacement ever recorded. March alone logged 18,720 job losses. A 24% jump from March 2025. The acceleration is not flattening. It is getting steeper every month. At this pace, analysts project 265,000 tech job eliminations by December 2026. That would exceed 2025's already record-breaking full-year total of 246,000. And the companies doing this are not doing it from weakness. Oracle raised $50 billion in debt and equity to fund AI data centers. TD Cowen estimates cutting 30,000 workers frees up $8 billion to $10 billion in cash flow. That money goes directly into GPU clusters and AI infrastructure. The financial logic is brutally straightforward. Block cut nearly half of its 10,000 employees. CEO Jack Dorsey said AI made those roles unnecessary. And then he said something that should have been front-page news everywhere. Within the next year, the majority of companies will reach the same conclusion. Salesforce replaced 4,000 customer support agents with AI. Goldman Sachs deployed an AI coding system that lets one senior engineer do the work of a 5-person team. Meta, Amazon, Atlassian, Pinterest, all announcing significant layoffs in the past 60 days and explicitly linking the cuts to AI efficiency gains. And the number that changes everything else is this. 80% of US workers hold jobs where at least some of their core tasks are directly susceptible to AI automation. 80%. That is not a vulnerable subgroup. That is the entire American workforce. Now here is where the UPenn and Boston University paper gets into territory that nobody in the financial press is discussing. Because the question is not whether AI is replacing workers. That is obvious in the data. The question is whether the math works out for the companies doing the replacing. And the answer the researchers proved is no. Not eventually. Not at scale. And here is exactly why. Here is what analysts almost universally miss when they cover these layoffs. They frame Oracle's stock going up as evidence the strategy is working. At the individual company level, in this quarter, it is working. Margins improve. Investors are happy. The CEO gets the bonus. What that framing hides is the system-level result. Every company replacing workers with AI is also firing its own customers. Every Oracle employee who got that 6 a.m. termination email was someone spending money in the economy. Rent, groceries, car payments, local restaurants, subscriptions. That spending does not shift somewhere else when the job disappears. It exits the consumer economy entirely. So the loop works like this. Oracle fires 30,000 workers to fund AI data centers. Those 30,000 people reduce their spending. Local economies in Kansas City and Toronto and Bangalore contract. Oracle's own revenues eventually soften because the consumer economy its cloud business depends on is getting smaller. Oracle cuts more workers to protect margins. Those workers spend even less. The loop tightens every cycle. Every CEO can see this dynamic. The math is not complicated. Fire workers. Lose customers. Lose revenue. Collapse. But here is the trap. No company can afford to stop. If Oracle does not automate and Microsoft does, Microsoft undercuts Oracle's prices and takes market share. Oracle's shareholders punish the stock. So Oracle automates, knowing it is collectively suicidal. Because dying alone while everyone else survives a few more quarters is worse than participating in a system-level collapse that is still years away. This is what the researchers call the prisoner's dilemma. Not as a metaphor, as a mathematical proof. Individual rationality produces collective catastrophe. And there is no mechanism inside the market itself that breaks the cycle. There is also a second dynamic the paper identifies, and this one is called the Red Queen effect. In Lewis Carroll, the Red Queen tells Alice that in her world, you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place. That is exactly what is happening in the AI economy right now. Better AI does not solve the problem. Better AI makes it worse. Every company sees a bigger margin gain from automating faster than rivals. So it invests more, cuts more, moves faster. Every other company matches it. At the end, every company has automated equally. The competitive advantage disappears. But the destroyed purchasing power stays destroyed. You ran faster than you have ever run, and the only thing that changed is the ground beneath the whole system got worse. Watch what happens when we line up these layoff numbers with basic purchasing power math. 78,557 tech workers laid off in Q1 2026. Average U.S. tech salary, conservatively $130,000 per year. That is over $10 billion in annual consumer purchasing power that stopped circulating in the American economy in one quarter. One quarter. One sector. Every dollar of that had a multiplier effect in local economies. Restaurants, landlords, retailers, childcare providers, service businesses near tech campuses in San Francisco, Seattle, Kansas City, and Austin are all absorbing the secondary shock of that spending disappearing. At the projected 265,000 full-year pace, that is over $34 billion in annual tech sector purchasing power removed from the U.S. consumer economy in a single year. Before the same pattern reaches financial services, legal, accounting, and professional services, which are all on a 6 to 12-month lag behind the tech sector right now. And consider the knock-on effects that are not making it into the mainstream economic forecasts. Research from Career Minds shows that companies handling layoffs at this scale see 34% higher voluntary attrition among the workers who were not laid off in the 12 months following the cut. So the payroll savings Oracle calculated are being partially offset by the cost of losing and replacing people who decided to leave on their own afterward. The math of the short-term savings is narrower than the earnings call suggests. There is also a structural talent pipeline problem that almost nobody is discussing. IBM is reportedly tripling its entry-level hiring in 2026. Specifically because its leadership understands that eliminating entry-level roles destroys the pipeline needed to develop experienced workers and mid-level managers 5 to 10 years from now. The companies cutting deepest today are mortgaging their medium-term operational capacity for a short-term margin improvement. And there is a genuinely recursive data problem. AI systems are trained on data generated by human economic activity, consumer behavior, purchase patterns, engagement data. As the consumer economy contracts because AI eliminated the workers generating it, the quality of the training data that those same AI systems depend on degrades. Better AI leading to fewer workers leading to less consumer activity leading to worse training data for the next generation of AI. The Red Queen effect is showing up at the infrastructure level itself. The UPenn paper did something almost no academic research on this topic has done. They tested every proposed solution, every policy currently on the table, and proved mathematically why each one fails at the structural level. Universal basic income. The policy Silicon Valley has been promoting for years. Give displaced workers a guaranteed monthly income. The paper's finding is that UBI raises living standards for recipients. It does not change one company's decision to automate. The prisoner's dilemma is still there. The competitive pressure to automate before your rival is still there. UBI is financial pain management. It is not a structural fix. Capital income taxes on automation profits. Tax what companies earn from AI deployment. Redistribute it. Capital taxes adjust profit levels. They do not change the per-task automation decision. If replacing a human role saves money after the tax, the company still automates. The math of the prisoner's dilemma is unchanged. Worker equity and profit sharing. Give employees ownership stakes in the companies deploying AI against them. The paper found this narrows the gap but cannot close it. A worker owning a small fraction of company equity is still terminated when AI can do their job for less. Stock ownership does not protect your role from the dominant strategy of automation. Collective bargaining. Industry-wide agreements to limit automation speed. This sounds the most direct. Get companies in a room. Agree to slow down together. The game theory destroys this immediately. Automating is what the paper classifies as a dominant strategy. It is always better for any individual company to automate faster, regardless of what competitors do. So no voluntary agreement between companies is self-enforcing. The moment competitive pressure builds, one company breaks the deal. And when one breaks it, every other company must follow or lose market share. The agreement collapses every single time. 4 solutions. For mathematical proofs of failure. Not because the ideas are wrong in isolation. Because the underlying incentive structure makes each one unworkable without something more fundamental changing first. The one mechanism the paper identifies that actually restructures the incentive at the source is a Pigouvian automation tax. A per-task charge that forces companies to pay for the consumer demand they destroy when they eliminate human roles. Oracle fires 30,000 workers. Oracle pays a fee proportional to the economic activity those workers were generating in the consumer economy. The cost of automation is no longer fully externalized onto workers, local businesses, and the broader tax base. The prisoner's dilemma math begins to shift. The political obstacles to implementing this in the current American environment are significant. You can form your own view of the probability. Here is my read on where the data puts us. By the end of 2026, the 265,000 projected tech job figure will be confirmed or exceeded. The pattern will be visibly expanding into financial services, healthcare administration, legal, and professional services. Companies in those sectors have been watching tech margins improve for 18 months and are drawing exactly the conclusions Jack Dorsey described publicly. By 2027, the consumer spending impact shows up structurally in the macro data. Not as cyclical softening that bounces back. As a permanent reduction in purchasing power in specific demographics concentrated in tech and professional services. Credit delinquency rates rising in geographic clusters tied to major tech employment hubs. The deflationary signal the UPenn paper identifies as phase 1 of the financial sequence becomes visible in the headline numbers. The government response follows, because it always does. Deficit spending increases. Social program expansion. Central banks facing collapsing growth begin cutting rates and expanding money supply. And that is when phase 2 arrives. Inflation. Massive public spending combined with weakened productive capacity and a structurally smaller consumer base creates the exact inflationary combination that is hardest to manage. Money supply expanding while real economic activity is contracting. At the far end of that sequence, the paper describes a currency and debt restructuring event. The financial system forced to reset under sustained pressure. Oracle's stock going up 4% to 6% on news that 30,000 people lost their jobs at 6 in the morning tells you exactly where we are in this cycle. The market is pricing the short-term margin improvement. It has not priced the system-level destination. Wall Street is celebrating the transition. It has not modeled the endpoint. The AI layoff trap is already in the data. Every quarter, every earnings call announcing record profits alongside record layoffs, the signal gets stronger. And the math says it does not self-correct without an external structural intervention. Keep watching the quarterly numbers from here. Because the acceleration is not slowing down.